I was thinking like what to say about this verse, and there's so many things to say, and it can be looked through many aspects. And of course, it talks about the qualities of Krishna. And I chose to talk about how Krishna actually personally takes care. I will touch upon those topics because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he has nothing to do. Actually, everything that is done by his energies. And of course, I will speak on the basis of what I heard from my spiritual master, because I hear a lot of his lectures lately, so all the topics that he's talking about are also in my head when I think about it. And this personal care he explains in one of his lectures. And he says that even though in Goloka, he has nothing to do, in the sense that he's all-powerful, he's self-sufficient, and he doesn't have any material desires as we do. He desires nothing because he's self-satisfied. But he's controlled by the bhakti of his devotees. And that is something that bewilders him. So, in a sense, when he's just in Goloka Vrindavan enjoying himself in Krishna Loka, he in a way forgets about everything because he's so immersed in the relationships that he has with his devotees. But then it is explained by the acharyas how the devotees who are in the material world, let's say it like that, would never accept the fact that Krishna is just bewildered and that everything is done by his energies. Because whatever we do here in the material world, even though we are in the spiritual world in a way, because when we serve Krishna, we want to think that we have a personal exchange with him, that even though we might not see him, because we don't have the spiritual vision, everything that is happening in our life, we see as his hand in a way. So devotees, when they engage in devotional service to the Lord, they engage in personalism in a way, and therefore they expecting. We should not expect, but that's natural. We have this need, let's say it like that. We have the need for reciprocation. And when we have this need for reciprocation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is very important for us that he personally comes, right? That's the Krishna, that he's not somewhere in Goloka Vrindavan, even though he is, but that sometimes he might a little bit remember us, and that gives us certain, feelings of gratitude, of humbleness, and that's how actually we develop our devotional service, develop our bhakti, and that's how we develop our relationship with Krishna. And he also shows in his pastimes how he's always personally engaged in the affairs of his devotees. So one of such examples is given in this verse. So, there are many reasons why he did it. Took personal care of the cows which were lost. But what is stressed in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, that even though Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to do personally, because he's doing everything through his energies and potencies, nonetheless, he took personal care to find the cows of his friends. So, in the same sense, Krishna takes personal care in the life of a devotees, and he promises and he gives indications of it in the Bhagavad Gita. And there's also a story that I would like to share, which is from Gita Mahatmya, that actually talks about, it's actually the famous verse. I'll just find it. So this is where Krishna admits how he personally takes care of the devotees. I always have notes, but I cannot find anything in my notes. Ananyas chintayantamam ye janah pariyupasate tesham nitya viyuktam yogak shemam vahamyaham. The Supreme Lord personally takes care of anyone who is completely engaged in his devotional service. Whatever he has, the Lord protects, and whatever he needs, the Lord supplies. Therefore, why should one bother the Lord with something material? Such prayers are unnecessary. So this is another translation of the verse by Srila Prabhupada in the purport from Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 5:18-21. So in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that I take care of what you have and I bring you what you lack. So, and it's also something that if we go in the Catholic theology, we have Saint Francis who was saying the same things. Like, why should you worry about the clothes that you will wear or about the food that you will eat? And then he would ask, doesn't Lord provide for the birds in the fields? Do they have clothes? In the sense, do they feel warm and so on? So why do you worry about those things? And if the Lord takes care so much about the nature and about the animals that we see around, how then he would not take care of you? Meaning in the sense of humans. So, in the same sense, Srila Prabhupada states it in this purport of the Canto 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he stresses this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Now, there is a question for all of us, is like, do we believe it? Because sometimes we think like things are unfair, or that Krishna is not looking at us or taking care of us, or something is happening. And we complain, we're not very happy, we're agitated and so on. And when we are like that, actually we are missing the part of faith that comes up. So faith in what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So in that sense, there's a nice story that talks about the faith in Krishna's words, and especially the verse that I just read from the Bhagavad Gita. And it is stated, it can be found in Gita Mahatmya, in I think introduction to the book, where there's a story about the Brahmana, who was a very pious Brahmana. He was living with his wife, and he would engage himself in reading the scriptures, and then after he would read the scriptures, when he would perform prayers for the Lord and did his devotional service, he would also go out and he would collect from various householders food for his maintenance, because he was not working, he was just a Brahmana engaged in the service of the Lord. So he was depending, actually, in his eyes, he was depending on others, but actually he was depending on the Lord. Even though he did have that understanding, but when he read the verse that Krishna personally, this is the important part, personally takes care that he gives you what you lack and he preserves what you have, the Brahmana thought like, personally. Well, maybe through the energies, like he does take care because I do go out and all these people do give me food, but it's not that Krishna personally actually comes and gives this to me. And he scratched the verse in the word, yeah. Which word was that, you know? The one that, yeah. So he scratched the word. And after doing his duties the next day, he again went out and to beg for alms, food, and he was very unsuccessful, because wherever he would go to, someone would say, oh no, not today, we don't have, or I don't know, our family member got sick or something. There was some kind of an excuse why on this day they wouldn't give him anything in charity. And in the meantime, his wife was at his house expecting her husband to come with the whatever he collected that day. And in the meantime, 2 boys came. And they brought food, like bags of food. And they said that they're delivering this to the Brahmana. And the wife said, look, but he didn't order anything, who are you? And then they said, well, we are his disciples. And then she said, but my husband doesn't have any disciples. Like, are you sure? Yes, he does have disciples. We are his disciples. And he was very strict towards us. he even beat us on our back. And then this one boy, he removed his cloth and he showed on his back like the marks of beating. And the Brahmana's wife was totally in shock. She couldn't believe that her wonderful, peaceful husband, who was actually in the Sattva guna, was beating boys for like no reason and being so cruel to them. So then she allowed them to put the food in the house, and I guess she tried to console them. And then after some time, the Brahmana came back, and he saw his wife, who was very much upset at him and very angry. And I think she even cooked the food, and she ate before he arrived, because according to the Vedic principles, the wife eats usually when the husband comes home after he has a meal, which she didn't do now. So he was thinking like, why is she angry at me? Why did she do that? Like, why did I do? And then she started, like, in this story, yelling at him, how he was cruel, how could he do this to these young innocent boys, and that he was beating them and so on. And he was totally confused. He didn't understand like what was happening. And she described the boys, and somehow the boys resembled by the description of Krishna and Balaram. And then his Paramatma started working, and then he realized maybe that was Krishna actually bringing me this food, and he felt very like sad because he was doubting his Lord. But the biggest part of it all was that when he took the Bhagavad Gita again, and when he opened the Bhagavad Gita on the page where this verse was, there was the scratch was not there anymore, so it was like erased from Krishna. So in a sense that Krishna wanted to show him how he should have faith, and he proved himself by bringing the food personally, but also he showed how he's hurt when we don't have faith. So when he scratched the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita is actually the same, it's an incarnation of Krishna. So basically he was scratching Krishna and bringing him pain. So this is like a very instructive story on how basically we should have faith in Krishna's words. And especially in the Bhagavad Gita, where he personally says and gives instructions and he explains himself. But also in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also a sound incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it contains stories about Krishna, facts about Krishna and about his relationship with the devotees. And basically, we should have full acceptance of what is written in the scriptures, especially because these scriptures are aparaushaya, I think it's called, infallible, because aparaushaya, apaurashaya, infallible. So they come directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are transmitted through the disciplic succession from one teacher to the next teacher, and they were at the beginning transmitted by hearing. And these sages, they had the ability that when they heard something for the first time, they were able to remember it exactly as they heard it and then explain it further on. Today is our great fortune that we have it written, which was done by the mercy of Vyasadeva, because people in the Kali Yuga don't have such intelligence to remember all these things. And I can see it on my example as well. I don't know how many times I read Bhagavad Gita, but still I don't remember it. So it's just like Kali Yuga intelligence and brain doesn't function very well. But then we have the mercy of the Vaishnavas, so we can read it. And yes, it was the mercy of Vyasadeva, but it was also the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who instructed the 6 Goswamis to write all this literature, so that now we can actually distribute distribute it to the world and allow everyone to become enlightened by this knowledge of the Lord. And so Krishna personally takes care. And one another point that can be taken from this verse is that he personally takes care and that he gives enjoyment, he gives pleasure to the cowherd boys. This is also a quality of Krishna. And I was listening to the lecture of my Guru Maharaj, and he was speaking how whatever Krishna does in this material world, he actually does it for the pleasure of the devotees. So even though that in the Bhagavad Gita it is written how he comes to protect the sadhus and to annihilate the demons and to establish the principles of religion, that's true, but that's actually the secondary reason of why he comes. The primary reason of why he comes, Shri Radha Gopinata ki jai, Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Shri Govardhan ki jai. So the primary reason why Krishna comes to this world is to give pleasure to the devotees. And he was actually reading one section that I wanted to read for you from Paramatma Sandarbha by Jiva Goswami, where he explains it, how he comes. So it's always for the pleasure of the Lord. He says, though the Lord's creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe have been explained, the conclusion is again presented to answer specific doubts in the matter of uprooting a stump of a tree. One hears of the various avatars who side with the devatas, giving them mercy with smiles and gestures of fearlessness, while killing demons in battle. Are the pastimes done by the Supreme Lord or not? Does he make the avatar forms? If made by the Supreme Lord, then the Lord must be material and must be partial, taking size. If the Lord does not produce these forms or perform these pastimes, then they are not part of the Lord's Svarupa. This goes against your proposition. So in a way, I mean, this is connected in a way, because like the Lord has nothing to do. So is this him, all these avatar forms that are actually coming here in the material world? So this will be explained. Concerning this doubt, this should be said. It is true that the Supreme Lord does nothing in regard to protection of the universe. However, he reveals pastimes and various avatars manifested through his Svarupa Shakti in order to give bliss to his Vaikuntha associates who appear along with him and to other devotees, including devatas, who control the universe. It is said in the Padma Purana, even though I can kill the demons in a moment, I perform various actions to give pleasure to my devotees. Just as the fish by seeing, the turtle by thought, and the bird by touch nourish their young, I nourish my devotees. So, in a way, again, personal care of Krishna. So, the fact is that he says, like, I come to annihilate the demons, but he's so powerful that he can, as this verse from Padma Purana says, he can kill them in a moment. So what's the fuss, and why is he doing all these things? Like, why is he coming? I mean, he's not even like, he doesn't have any material desires. He's self-sufficient, as we said. He has nothing to do. So basically, he has no need to come to the material universes. He's not interested in that, because whatever is here in the material universes is completely material. And it is the energy of Krishna, but he's the supreme spiritual form of full knowledge, eternity, and bliss. So he's not interested in these temporary things that attract us. So in a way, like to protect also the demigods or the sadhus, in one explanation of the acharyas, it is said that this sadhunam actually refers to the devotees, not just like the demigods or the pious living entities who want protection from the Lord because of their, I don't know, yagyas, let's say it like that. So he basically doesn't come because of that, because all these dualities that we have in the material world, which are also seen in the when you divide the personalities in the material world as demons and devas. So this is actually a material classification, because all of these demons and devas are jivas. So they're parts and parcels of Krishna, and in their pure form, they're perfect, and they're eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. So in Krishna's eyes, there's no difference, but they're put into the material world to perform certain roles and duties according to their karma. So he's not interested in that. And that's like when he says also in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm not partial. So this is the proof that actually he is not partial. He just responds to the activities of the personalities that are here in the material world. And he is more inclined to his devotees because they show affection towards him. And it's totally natural that he will show affection towards them. But even if he comes to protect, secondary reason, to protect the sadhus, like devatas, and to annihilate the demons, they also benefit from it, because all the demons, they got liberation, and they didn't even go to the personal Brahmajyoti, they didn't even merge into the energy of the Lord. They all got Svarupya, Mukti, which means that they gained the form of the Lord, which means that they became the associates of the Lord in Vaikuntha planets. So it's always like for the benefit, and it's so. I remember how it's difficult, especially when you start reading Bhagavad Gita, and then first of all in the first chapter you have all these names of these warriors, and you're like, you have a headache because you don't know Sanskrit and it's just too hard. And then you understand that there's some kind of a battle here going on, and that Krishna is actually in the chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita, when he shows his universal form, he's devouring everyone in his mouth. So it looks a little bit violent, so you don't understand like what is going on here, and you're really trying to understand. But then it takes like, I guess that's why we read all these scriptures. It takes like purification. We need to get to know Krishna, like who Krishna is. And that's how we will develop bhakti towards him. That's how we will understand him, if we learn about him. And all these scriptures are given to us so that we can know him, because you cannot love someone if you don't know him. So basically that's why it's important for us to gain this knowledge. Of course, we have Paramatma in our heart, which is also an expansion of Krishna, and Krishna also here gives remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge to us, and understanding. But it's very rare that someone will be enlightened just like in a second and chant purely and understand everything in his or her position. We always need the help of the spiritual master, of course, and the other devotees who will impart knowledge unto us because they have seen the truth. And also, my Guru Maharaj, he would speak from Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and he said that yes, it's very good that we hear from the pure devotees, because they have seen the truth and they are actually transmitting the truth about the spiritual world, about our nature, through our ears into our heart. But there's only 50% of the job. The other 50% is our realization. And how do we get these realizations? Is by following the instructions of the spiritual master. So Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he explains that if we take the mantra that was given to us by our spiritual master, and if we follow the rules of discipline of our spiritual master, then we can have these realizations. And I was just on Wednesday giving a class on the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 18, which talks about action in inaction and inaction in action. So the one who knows what is that and acts in this way is the most intelligent one. And then my spiritual master explained how inaction means that we perform certain action without results, in the sense that we have some sense gratification out of it. So it means that we perform action for Krishna. And since we, especially at the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we do not know how to act properly, and we don't have these realizations of our relationship with Krishna, because Krishna in that chapter also says that I have come here to explain this science of relationship towards me. So we all like that Krishna consciousness is science, actually, that if you really do this, if you follow the instructions, then you can have the result. It's like the scientists, they perform experiment according to certain steps, and then they get a certain result. In a similar sense, we can talk about Krishna consciousness in that way, because it is a science. And if we follow, of course there is a mercy aspect, but if the mercy will come if we follow it, it happens automatically, because Lord is always merciful. So if we don't know how to act for the pleasure of Krishna, that we are actually understanding inaction, and action in inaction, that we are actually performing akarma, which means activities that will not bind us to this material world. If we don't know how to do that at the beginning, then we follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So everything confirms itself. What is said in the Bhagavatamrita is also emphasized in the Bhagavad Gita by Krishna himself. And people who act in this way are the most intelligent ones. And if they act like this with faith, which comes to the story of that Brahmana, so we have to have faith, then Krishna says, at the end of your life, you will achieve the spiritual kingdom. So he will come. And therefore, you have nothing actually to worry about. And it's quite interesting, one more point, which is connected to why Krishna comes. So Krishna comes, as we said, to give pleasure to the devotees. That's the primary reason. And the secondary reason is to, what he says in the Bhagavad Gita, annihilate the demons, to protect the sadhus, and to establish the principles of religion. And now I lost my thought. Man. I lost my thought. Yeah. But I wanted to say something. It was so nice. Oh, man. Yeah, it was Krishna. Yeah, I know. But I got lost. I lost him. Yeah. Yeah. So funny. Yeah. Oh man, it was such a good point. I know it was. No, it's not. For me, these notes don't work. It's just if I have it in my head or I don't have it in my head. Well, anyway, that was such a good point. I hope it will come back. Okay. Yeah, let me think about it. So I was speaking about how actually the ones who work for Krishna, there's no result. I know what I wanted to say. So yeah, I remember. So the point that I was trying to make, like, he gives this pleasure because he comes to give pleasure for the devotees, because devotees don't need protection and they don't need liberation. That's what I wanted to say. So basically, what do you need protection from when you are a devotee? Because he's protecting from the demons. That means that killing the body or whatever is happening here. So these are material stuff, and this has nothing to do with the soul in a way. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that he comes to give liberation. But actually, devotee is already liberated. And that's what I wanted to say, and read a little bit about what Prabhupada said. And when he talks about devotee being liberated, he doesn't say that it only refers to a pure devotee. So even a kanishta, that's for me, even a kanishta is considered liberated if he or she acts on this platform. So we'll see what Srila Prabhupada says. So actually, one who is self-realized engages himself in the service of the Lord perpetually, both in this life and in the next. Indeed, for devotees, there is no difference between this life and the next. In this life, a neophyte devotee is trained to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in the next life, he approaches that Supreme Person in Vaikuntha and renders the same devotional service. Even for the neophyte devotee, devotional service is considered Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Devotional service to the Lord is never considered a material activity. Since he is acting on the Brahma Bhuta platform, a devotee is already liberated. He therefore has no need to practice any other type of yoga in order to approach the Brahma Bhuta stage. If the devotee adheres strictly to the orders of the spiritual master, follows the rules and regulations, and chants the Hare Krishna mantra, it should be concluded that he is already at the Brahma Bhuta stage, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Mam chayo vaya bicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityatan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who is engaged in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So there's hope that every time we engage in the service of Krishna according to the instructions of the spiritual master, we are on the Brahma Bhuta stage. And this is considered liberation, because I also found this nice definition of liberation in a way, that liberation generally refers to freedom from the bodily concept of life. So the devotees don't have that concept, or at least they try not to have that concept, because they want to engage themselves as servants of Krishna, and they nurture that identity, that they are servants of Krishna. So in that sense, I wanted to make some of these points, how Krishna personally takes care, and how in this verse he gave an example of how he personally takes care, and that is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. And then we said how we should have faith in what Krishna says, that he personally takes care. And then we gave an example of this story of Brahmana, and how when we don't have faith, Krishna is very hurt. Actually, we're scratching his back with our unfaithfulness. And how we should take these scriptures, which are infallible, and try to practice the instructions of a spiritual master. And we also said how he takes care personally, and how he doesn't come to this material world to annihilate the demons and protect the sadhus, but to give pleasure to the devotees. And this verse also indicates this, because Krishna says to the cowherd boys, let me go and search for the cows, you just enjoy here. So I just took that part, but this is also what Srila Prabhupada refers to in the purport. And then we said how it is a fact that he comes to give pleasure to the devotees, because the devotees, they don't have to be liberated, even if they are in the material world, because they are always on the Brahma Bhuta stage, because they perform devotional service according to the instructions of the spiritual master. And we also mentioned how we need the scriptures that give us this knowledge, and they also give us purification through hearing, but in order to have realization, we have to do the work ourselves, and we do the work ourselves by practicing the instructions of the spiritual master, which is the mantra that he gave us, and the rules of discipline. And that's how we can achieve the result. But we can have the result even now. It's just a matter of consciousness. The devotee, pure devotee, who has established his relationship with Krishna, who has developed bhakti and prema towards Krishna in a pure sense, for him there's no difference between the material world and the spiritual world, because he does the same activities here and there. And there's the same exchange is there. And Krishna personally takes care whether he's on Krishna Loka in the spiritual world, or whether he comes through some kind of way in the material world. But he descends as an incarnation, so he comes. And he came also 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he also is here at the moment as a sound incarnation of the Maha Mantra. So the name is Krishna himself, and he's approachable to everyone through his name. So I will stop here if you have comments or questions. Yeah, you can say Pandit.
Just because it's really a struggle, my rounds. Just heard a lecture of Srila Prabhupada on morning walk.
Mm-hmm.
And one devotee is asking the question, what if a devotee cannot finish his 16 rounds? And Prabhupada immediately says, oh, it's not even a human being, he's an animal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 16 rounds is actually so small percentage of time actually in a day. It's only 2 hours in a 24 hours.
I never make it in 2 hours,
Then 3.
It's 10 minutes for a round, so it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's really hard work.
Yeah. But when you compare it to the day, it's a small amount of the day. So in that sense, we can it's actually a small part that I'm doing because, yeah, I talk to myself like that. like what's the fuss?
I also hear Prabhupada saying that what is the problem? Out of 24 hours, 2 hours you chant your rounds. But I need, mostly it's 3 hours anyway.
It's okay.
It's not that much even, but it's hard work. I prefer to work than chanting actually because my mind is.
Yeah.
It's more easy.
More easy to work.
Yeah, that's what Prabhupada says 16 hours. Because actually originally it's supposed to be 64. But he said Westerners, in Karate, Westerners, they're so passionate. And they need to do something, it cannot be everybody.
Yeah.
So reading, I like reading.
Yeah.
But chanting is really hard work.
Yeah.
But I heard that. Yeah, you're not even a human being, you're a man. Just,
Yeah.
But you said that just to tell us.
Well, yeah. It was in the morning walk, and then the devotee asked me if you could not finish his rounds, and Prabhupada immediately said, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But Krishna also says that even if one chants only once my name, that he carries him in his heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We like to hear these things,
But it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also it's like that verse that he personally takes care. So we don't have faith in whatever he says in the Bhagavad Gita. We always say, I'm talking also by myself. Yeah, right. He says that, but it's true actually. So he does care, and he appreciates every syllable you say in every day. You're calling his name. So there's no worry for you. But I understand that we always worry.
It's still a long way to go, but at least we are on the right way,
Yeah.
the right path.
Yeah. Thank you for your comment. I think Mariska also said.
First I want to add something because I did the initiation course, and Prabhupada mentioned that if you don't chant for 16 rounds, you're not his devotee.
Oh, yeah.
According to what Dragi said, he already made it so the 16 is nothing compared to 32 or 4.
Yeah.
No, I have a question because yesterday I was reading the
So I have my notes here from the... So basically in this chapter, he says in the verse, he first says like how this knowledge came through the sampradaya and so on, and how he was there speaking to Vivashvan and blah blah blah. And then he says in the verse 14, there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reaction of work. So here he starts talking about action. So he does nothing, and then he's trying to explain to you, like the jivas, he's trying to us explain like what actually action is. And knowing what action is, we will be liberated. So according to the Shastras, there are 3 types of activities that spirit souls do in this world. They perform karma, vikarma, or akarma. So karma means that you are acting according to the scriptures. So you're following some rules and regulations of the Shastras, and you're getting purified, and you will get some good karma out of it. If you don't follow the Shastras, you are performing vikarma, which is prohibited activities, which means sinful activities. And there is one more category, which is called akarma, and these are activities performed in Krishna consciousness, because they are performed first of all for the pleasure of the Lord. Second of all, they don't bind you to the material world. There is no good or bad karma from it. And that's why akarma is called inaction. It doesn't bring you bad or good karma. So that's why he says that one who sees in action. So you're performing something, but actually there's no result of it. So it's inaction. And he sees action as inaction, but still you do something, like Arjuna was fighting for Krishna, but still it's inaction because he didn't get any results out of it, no bad, no good. So Krishna is teaching us how to perform akarma. And that is, if you don't know it at the beginning, which we don't know because we don't have this relationship with Krishna and knowledge, then we follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And then we come to this Brahma Bhuta stage. We become liberated. And why is it very important that we perform these akarma activities? Because you are not creating a new body. So with karma and vikarma, you are creating a body for the next life. And when you perform akarma, there is no body. So that's why you are liberated, in a sense. There's no bodily concept of life here. And when you leave this body, you will not get another material body, you will go to Krishna. So, yeah, is that okay?
About Krishna's taking personal care. Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a very nice passage where Lord Chaitanya, as the Mahaprakash, when he started to reveal himself, and then he's inviting so many devotees, and everybody knows, and he's telling everybody what was his role in what happened to them, and everybody is completely overwhelmed. Many times I think about it, actually, how Krishna is definitely personal in our lives, and we don't recognize it. It's just kind of, such a dull existence, and I speak about myself. But it's completely, is totally there. We are not there. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's true also. We're somewhere else in our minds. But thank you very much. So this Mahaprakasha Lila, right, from Lord Chaitanya, I was also thinking about it, how he manifested like Narasimha, I don't know to whom, but like Narasimhadev, then the other one saw him as Lord Ramachandra, and so on. So, and then Ramananda Raya, right, he saw Lord Chaitanya as Krishna and Radharani. We have all that painting that we see. So I also was thinking how that was for the pleasure of the devotees, how he manifested.
He came as a boatman, in Ganga.
Oh, yeah.
He was running away from the Muslims. And then he was so afraid because they were running after him, and he had to cross, and then it became already too late. And then there was no boatman, and suddenly a boatman came, and he took him, and he said, actually, it was me. He said,
Yeah.
was the one who did it.
Yeah. So, I mean, many devotees, they have experiences now, like, of Krishna being in their life, especially if you go to Vrindavan, everyone has a story of some boy. Yeah. Did you want to read something, Nikunja?
About the japa.
Yes.
I thought this was what we read this morning was very applicable to this.
Yeah.
This dilemma that we have always, that we think it's a chore
Yeah.
to chant.
Yeah.
And here Mahatma, he mentions, so this is number 6, this is an affirmation, I receive and feel Krishna's presence, mercy and love in his holy names. When we allow ourselves to feel Krishna in his name, so we have to allow ourselves to feel Krishna in his name, or feel the mercy coming to us through his name. We put ourselves in a receiver's mood. An achiever's mood means we are trying to squeeze something from the name as opposed to receiving what's already coming to us through the name. The mercy, love, and blessings are in the name. It is an awareness that what we are trying to get from the holy name already exists within it. We don't struggle to feel the mercy, bliss, and nectar of the name. Rather, we are allowing ourselves to bathe in that mercy, bliss, and nectar that already exists within the name. It is just like when we are given something, we don't have to create it. We only have to put our hands out, accept it, and enjoy its benefits. This affirmation is meant to put us in the consciousness that rather than making the holy name bless us, we are simply trying to appreciate the blessings already in the name and how they are coming to us as we chant. If I say I love and appreciate you, you feel my love. The holy name is saying, I am present here, my mercy is here, my love is here, please accept it, please feel it, please utilize it.
Thank you. Can I add something to? I was just thinking while you were reading it. Like, I don't think that Srila Prabhupada or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were puffed up, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that they were puffed up. But, for example, I can list 3 examples. One example was when Srila Prabhupada was on a Jaladuta, and when he was coming, to America, and he had faith, so that everything that is in the scriptures is true, and that Krishna says all this, and Krishna made it happen. But he acted with this faith. I hope you can understand me. And then there's one example. The second example is of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta when they went, I think they went to Vrindavan, or maybe not, it doesn't matter where they went, but they went to a place where there was an abandoned temple where the ghost was haunting the place. And everyone warned them, don't go and sleep there because you will be haunted by a ghost. But they didn't run away, or they just stayed there and chanted the Mahamantra because they had faith in the potency of the Mahamantra. And in the end, that Brahmana Rakshasa, he was liberated. He got another body and he got purified and he could go on. And the third example is for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, when he it's about the second initiation, when he said that it doesn't matter if you were born in a Brahmana family or a family of a Shudra or Yavana, whatever, everyone can become a Brahmana by chanting the holy name in the way, because he said that if one chants the Nam, the Hari Nam, he will get the Nam will purify the person and he will get automatically the Brahmana qualification. So in that sense, sometimes we should be humble in the sense and think that we cannot do this or that, but at the same time we should have this faith that it's possible, and that this, what Krishna says, is certainly will come and certainly is that way. Because if we don't have this faith, then Srila Prabhupada could not go to the West, and Bhaktivinoda could also not preach, and Bhaktisiddhanta could also not preach if they didn't have this firm conviction of like a lion that this is the way it is. It is humbling in the sense of, yes, I have so many faults, but it's Krishna is like this, and that's why That's why I can be. It's true. That's why I can become a pure devotee one day. This is where you are aiming. We are all aiming at that because Krishna says that. So we trust Krishna. Yeah.
That's just the point that made me remember how harsh we are on ourselves always, because we many times we consider relationship with Krishna according to our experiences we have in the material world, that we think Krishna is very harsh to us and that we're trying but it's not good enough, we're not good enough. So we many times hear more these statements that are more negative, but there are so many positive statements, like you were mentioning to you, that whatever we do for Krishna, he's so grateful.
Yeah.
And his heart melts, and he wants us back more than we do. So I definitely it's a question of our faith, and actually it's very natural. That's what came out for me from your class, that the fact that our faith at the beginning is small is very natural.
Yeah.
We're getting to know this proper relationship with Krishna, who he actually is, through all the gurus we have, through all the other sadhus. And definitely this faith is maturing into love,
Yeah.
into prema. So it's natural that on the way we don't have complete faith in the words of the scripture. We cannot fully place ourselves yet there. But with time, because all these experiences are happening to us, that Krishna is showing himself in different ways in our life, we will gain more faith. So even the taste will come for chanting, for other things will come, because our faith will mature into love. And when this love is there, it will be very natural for us to do that for Krishna. And
Yeah.
our hearts will feel that. We will be attracted to it even more. So I guess it's a process, and we're in a good way. So that's why we're not giving up.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if you just imagine someone, it's like you're 1 week in Krishna consciousness and someone comes and says, Krishna manifests to give pleasure to the devotees, and you're like, they have no idea what is a devotee. He's giving me pleasure if I'm a devotee. Why do I suffer? I'm just saying how the concepts of someone who comes at the beginning, I'm talking about myself. We need dualities. And then these dualities disappear as we go like deeper and deeper in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. I like your class. Very nice.
Thank you.
The point about faith and in connection to Pandu's contribution is, Krishna came here to for our pleasure, the primary reason, as you said. But while talking, I just realized that Krishna also came here to increase our faith.
Yeah.
And the point is, I guess, that and by giving us a lot of realizations, and by giving us so many opportunities to do devotional service, but the point is us. We don't recognize that as mercy. If I think of Pandapavani, sometimes you are doing the kirtan, nice for Prabhupada, Prabhupada puja, you do nice kirtan. So that's mercy. And the point is we don't recognize all these things we may do for Krishna in the service. We don't recognize it as mercy. And if we see it as mercy, then every time when we got an opportunity to do something for Krishna, then the faith will increase. That's how my faith increased. Every time I say, oh, thank you, Krishna, now may I clean the temple. Oh, thank you, Krishna, now we're driving so many devotees. And the point is you have to recognize that as mercy.
Yeah.
So if we recognize it, then the faith will increase.
Yeah, everything is mercy from Krishna.
Yeah. But we don't recognize it. Like my guru says, he often says, the mercy is in every corner. You just have to grab it.
Yeah.
But first you have to recognize it as mercy.
Yeah. That's
This is a really nice question. How Prabhu's struggle is a mercy.
yeah, that's
How can you see this difficulty and mercy?
The
Yeah.
fact that I'm
It
still
is.
here, that is
No,
quite
it's
a lot of mercy.
because
Yeah, you
then
see it.
No,
there was
but
a
the difficulty, the struggle itself
yeah,
Yeah.
is also mercy.
Yeah.
yeah,
How?
because it makes you eager. Krishna, it makes you eager for Krishna. So
No, I go on.
yeah,
I turn to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
remember Prabhupada said also, stay on the boat. Whatever happens, stay on the boat.
Does Krishna make you stay on the boat?
Sri Sundar.
No?
I think the moment you chant the holy name, you have the mercy.
Yeah.
I mean, you struggle because at least you have it, and people are suffering so much, especially nowadays. So I struggle myself too, but at least I have it. And for that, you get the mercy. The mercy is there, and we have to struggle. And my Guru Maharaj says, even if you struggle, even if it's difficult, keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Be steady. And I think that's the secret. Reading, chanting, serving, just do it. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult, but never stop it.
Yeah.
So if you have the holy name, you have the mercy.
I think the question was where is the mercy in the struggle? But actually, it's like if you suffer because you're going the wrong way. If you're driving in the wrong side of the road and you suffer, this is not working. You're driving, but it is like some struggle going on. And then, some policeman stops you, and then you say, that actually in this country you're driving the other side, on the way. So it is, the fact that you do something wrong, it's an alarm, like if you have a wound in your body and it is painful, so it means you have something wrong, you take care of it and then you're getting better. So this is a correction which is helping you to look for something which is actually the right way, and then you can experience, like Nikunja was reading, there is a way of chanting which gives you so much taste and so much interest to go on with it.
Yeah.
So then if we just take it as an opportunity to look, what am I doing wrong? So then I can chant with pleasure. So then we take it as a mercy. Krishna is correcting us.
Yeah.
All benefit.
Yeah. That's true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really, the point that we recognize the struggle is the mercy point. There's something needs to be done about it.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like, for example, now you hear something, and you think, okay, Krishna is giving me some hint, not just separate, but hint, how to correct it. So if you see Krishna you have to help me, and then he's giving you the hint, and then you just kind of try that, and you say, okay, this was wrong, And it happens many times, you somehow you don't have taste, and I do something wrong, and then somehow Krishna is giving you the understanding what is wrong. And then you say, oh yeah, thank you. And then you can go deeper.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Let me think Harikatha once.
Yeah, just want to give a comment as well on what Prabhu said about Srila Prabhupada said in the morning walk. If you don't chant 16 rounds, then you will consider to be animals. And I did a small research on Manipedia. I was looking for what is actually, who is the devotee? What is the definition? Who is the devotee? Only by, of course, Prabhupada. And I found actually it's a specter. It goes from, yes, we should chant at least 16 rounds, follow all the regular principles, it's a bare minimum. But another place he says devotee is anyone who has at least small attraction to Krishna. So there's, and he's already considered a devotee. So it seems contradictory what he's saying. But the thing is, this is again just my understanding. Prabhupada is very, very personal, just like Krishna described in this verse. And that means that he is reciprocating with devotees based on context and based to whom he is telling this. So, and this is morning walk, which means he is probably addressing some devotee. He's trying to encourage him. You should be stronger in what you are doing, because if you don't, you will be like animals. So it doesn't necessarily apply to you or somebody, in different contexts. That's what I'm trying to say. Certainly not to a new devotee, who is just, just came to contact to Krishna consciousness. This could be really, even pushing him away from that. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.